President Trump is encouraging Republicans to delay efforts on passing immigration overhaul. In a tweet this morning, the president wrote, Republicans should stop wasting their time on immigration until after we elect more senators and congressmen and women in November. Dems have no intention of doing anything to solve this decades-old problem. Let us remind our viewers that the House yesterday failed to pass a bill with a Republican-controlled House of Representatives. Even within their own party, they struggled to pass a bill yesterday. So
and that was supposed to be the easier of the two hurdles.
That's correct.
Right?
So now, of course, the question becomes, does immigration face an uncertain future?
Indeed. For more on this, we want to bring in CBSN contributor Alex Kliment. He writes for Signal, a newsletter produced by GZERO Media. So, Alex, we have a couple of polls, right, to talk about. We have a CBS poll that found a deep divide amongst party lines when it comes to family separations and the Trump administration doing that reversal. I think, like, the thing about politics now is it's dividing us more than it ever has before.
Sure. Well, the poll you're talking about said 2/3 of Americans opposed the policy of separating families at the border as a deterrent for against immigration, illegal immigration, but 55% of Republicans supported it. Now, it's worth noting that that's a much smaller percentage of Republicans than typically support everything that Trump does, right? I mean, we've talked about this in the past. Trump's own party approval rating is close to 90%. It's the highest since the Bush administration, right? So he really has taken control of this party and defined it. So this is one issue on which even the base was a little less supportive than it has been of other things. And of course, with this executive order yesterday, he rolled back the most egregious and repugnant part of this policy, which was separating the families. But he's still speaking in very harsh language about immigrants, about illegal immigrants, and, you know, some would say even legal immigrants, in a way that speaks to his base. And you know, the reality is that that's good politics for him, right? I mean, as you say, we are extremely polarized as a country right now, not just in terms of what we disagree on, right? Republicans and Democrats disagree on things, liberals and conservatives disagree on things. It's more than that. It's that people actively despise each other, right? People live and study and marry people who are from their own party and think of the other party as less than human. We talked about this study a couple weeks ago. 77% of Americans said that they think people who are opposing political viewpoints are less evolved humans than they are, right? That is the context in which Trump is operating, but not just Trump, right? I mean, the politics of playing to the base has been an increasing feature of national politics for a decade now,
I'm sort of grinning, but you have to wonder what the long-term effect of this will be. I mean, does it end at the after this administration has come and gone, or are we really doing lasting damage, you know?
You know, Charles Krauthammer passed away yesterday. He was a lion of political commentary, one of the most brilliant minds that come along to talk about politics. And he, before he passed away, and I don't remember if it was one of his last columns that he wrote, but he did suggest that our institutions were holding firm even in the face of some of the things that we've witnessed over the past couple of months, including the continuing degradation of the press and of some of the freedoms that we have. The idea of separating children from their parents is the most recent example. And he seemed to suggest that who we are as a country and the ideals and our institutions have withstood I mean, they've withstood civil war and civil rights movements, and that they can withstand even something that could be as egregious, and to use your words, as this family separation. Do you agree?
Well, look, I mean, we're still sort of feeling our way through this process, right? I mean, institutions are a kind of spell, right? Everyone believes in them and believes in supporting them and believes in acting with them until they don't, right? And I think it's not the type of thing where you wake up one day and say, hey, we have a constitutional crisis, or hey, we have an institutional crisis. It's something that sort of happens like a twilight. It happens over time, and norms get slowly erased, and things become normalized in ways that, you know, 6 months ago we wouldn't even have considered being here, 6 years ago. 6 months ago was pretty wild as well, right? So I think it's an ongoing process. I think he's right that actually up until now the crisis that people thought might happen has not happened, but you know, we're only halfway through this thing, and we're kind of in a new world here.
So you don't see, based on the polling that's been done, and what you're suggesting here is that people from different political parties, for example, don't like hanging out together anymore. So you don't think we could see, and this is just one example, but like a James Carville and a Mary Madeline, who famously, she was a Republican, he was a Democrat, they were happily married, and they, you know, when I see them on TV appearing together, they're going at it like, you know, but then they go home and they have a loving relationship. Is that not possible? I mean, how can party supersede who we are as Americans, our neighbor? How can that supersede the 10 Commandments, love thy neighbor? I don't get that.
Well, because increasingly your neighbors are members of the same political party as you are, right? I mean, that's what it's, you know, what all the studies show is that people increasingly live in communities that are like them, right? Politically speaking, people increasingly study at schools with other people who are like them. People marry people who are like them, and the kind of tribal concept is about politics, about being a liberal or a conservative or a Republican or a Democrat. So I think
it's very easy to turn others into sort of caricatures because you're not with them.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And we should point out that it happens here in New York City too. New York City is, for many people, they live in this bubble where everybody is sort of like-minded, more or less, right? And that's part of the problem that a lot of people outside of New York City have with this.
And I think
city.
I should also say, because I said, you know, once this administration sort of goes away, will the damage be lasting? I should also acknowledge the fact that it's not about this administration. It was happening before,
of course,
right? And that's part of the reason why we saw the sort of campaigning that we saw, because people sort of fed into this idea that the other party doesn't know what they're talking about, and we're the smart ones here.
You see some of the names that are used to describe people that I see on social media that are used to describe people of different political persuasions, and it's really toxic. I never thought that I would see, you know, fellow Americans treating each other this way. And part of me thinks that, you know, it's happening on social media, and it happens because they don't know who the other person is. It's just an avatar, or it's just a picture. And if they were really your neighbor, if it was the guy that lived down the street from you, you could have a barbecue with that individual, and you wouldn't see the toxicity that you see on social media. But part of me is also a little worried.
There will be university courses about this.
Yes, indeed.
People will get degrees in this once it's all over.